Some say that the petrol engine is well and truly dead. On a large part, I'd agree with that statement, because who in their right mind would bring out an old school combustion engine? Might sell well, but the government certainly won't like it. But with all that said, BYD have decided to give the devil's juice petroleum a little bit of care and attention, because with this, the all-new BYD Seal 6 available as a saloon or a touring variant, it shows that the petrol engine still has a rightful place in the automotive world, albeit electrified. Now, the Seal 6 is BYD's second iteration of their DMI hybrid powertrain. It's a rather innovative system and shows that you can electrify a petrol engine but still get that authentic driving experience. And not only that, you get extreme practicality, because with that hybrid powertrain utilising the combustion engine and an electric motor, you can travel up to 935 miles on a full tank and full charge, as well as getting up to 64 miles of pure electric driving. That's not just an impressive stat, it's outright mental. There's always talk online about EV haters when a new car launches and you go, well, this car can travel to 400 miles on a full tank, and you'll get them people going, yeah, but my diesel can travel 600-700 miles and I don't need to stop for an hour. Whereas with the Seal 6, you don't necessarily have to stop to charge. Obviously, it's best practice to keep that electric battery topped up, but with it housing either 35 or 64 electric miles on a full charge, knock that off the rather staggering 935 miles on a full tank, and you still could easily travel 600-700 miles just using petrol. So not only does it remove that fear of owning an EV, that range anxiety, not only does it add economical value with it housing up to 64 miles per gallon, but it can also silence the diesel lovers of the world, because this performs better than them. It does perform better than a diesel or a souped up petrol in terms of its longevity, its economical factor, but it somewhat doesn't live up to that high performance nature. It kind of feels like you're driving the Seal, the way it sits low to the ground without being a saloon, or somewhat of an estate body with that touring variant. But whichever Seal 6 you opt for, you're going to get a 0 to 60 time between 8 and 9 seconds, which isn't mightily quick, it's not mightily impressive, but the way that electric motor and the petrol engine combine means that you can set off an EV, and there's also a toggle in the center console, meaning you can switch on full EV mode, so you're going to get that bit more responsive torque, but also it kind of feels like you are driving an EV, the way it's so silent, the way it has a bit more oomph about it rather than that combustion engine in that second to kick in. And that's kind of experienced on the whole spectrum of the hybrid vehicle world. So I don't think that 0 to 60 time is necessarily detrimental to the gravitas of the Seal 6. Because I think if you get in a car like this, you're getting it not necessarily just for its looks, but you're getting it for its practicality. And with it housing a rather sizable boot capacity and rear seats, it could be a great family car, be a great work vehicle, which will certainly save you the pounds out on the road. But before you even drive it, what I find great about the spec levels is it really harnesses almost BYD's philosophy and what we see across the entire range, not making a base spec so detrimental that it forces people to move up the rankings and spend more money, because you still get reversing camera, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, a rather smart looking interior and plenty of storage space, all from that entry level. You only really benefit with the top spec with more premium features, heated and ventilated seats, things that aren't necessarily essential for everyday to-day driving and isn't actually taken away from the driving experience. Obviously, on a cold morning in winter, a warm bum would be lovely, and in summer, a non-sweaty back would be gorgeous. But ultimately, it's not essential. But things like adaptive cruise control, blind spot detection, hill start, assist and hill descent control, I think in this day and age, you'd like to have. As for its looks, and almost like the specs, it certainly feels like a BYD car, because the exterior utilises that Ocean X design seen on the Sea Line 7 on the Seal. And it kind of looks like a design from two different cars, because the way the bonnet slopes down and has that front end, it kind of has that EV presence, the way EVs have gone without a front grille. But then you move lower down and you get that front grille there, albeit small, but it makes it look like a car of old. I think I like that. I think I miss a proper front grille. You'll get 17-inch wheels from standard up for the top spec, and you'll get 18 inches. The alloys are kind of similar to what you see on the new Atto 2. I don't think they're the most in your face, they're not the most glamorous out there, but they serve a purpose, and I think they almost fit the rugged nature, especially with that touring variant. I don't think it needs to be a bit bougie. It needs to have that raw, authentic car look to it. So I don't think it's too detrimental to its design. The interior also is just BYD. I mean, look at it. It looks smart for not an expensive price point. You get so many different design features. The way that dashboard has so many different segments. They could have easily whacked a sheet of plastic on so many different parts. The way you got contrasting materials and patterns, small chrome accents which run along the dash. So overall it just looks smart, but certainly not overdone. Now parents, you might be looking at this interior going, cream interior, run for the hills. Well, don't worry, you can actually get a darker interior, so no amount of snacks on a long road trip will ruin your lovely car. You get plenty of space and storage in this centre console design, deep pocket underneath with USB-C ports, but you will get wireless phone charging pads, decent pocket under your centre armrest, and a rather streamlined look. There isn't really much buttons, it's all controlled through that 12.8-inch touchscreen, which houses built-in sat-nav, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, all from standard. You also get a 10-inch digital dash, which can be customised, and you can integrate your built-in sat-nav, or you can just have it showing that adaptive cruise control settings. Isn't really much going on, but I don't think it needs it. It feels like it has just been plucked from another BYD model, so there's nothing really impressive about a digital dash, but just like Harry Maguire, it does the job. One thing I'm a little bit disappointed with, and I don't know whether I'm more angry, disappointed, or actually upset, you don't get the rotating screen. That's one of the features that I absolutely loved about BYD. I feel like it set it apart, it felt unique. Why have they removed it? I know the Seal 6 does kind of feel like a workman's car. It feels like they're going to do a long road trip with a load of tools in the back. It has that presence about it. Workmen might not necessarily be constantly rotating it going, ooh, look how swish this looks. But it would be nice to have in. Even the Dolphin Surf, which is arguably their cheapest model, has that rotating screen, albeit a smaller one. A little bit disappointed. I feel like I could cry. You will get electronically adjustable seats depending on your spec, both for the driver and the passenger, so comfort is certainly there. But I do just like how it kind of feels out on the road. As mentioned, it kind of feels like I'm driving an EV, but then if you are putting your foot down to join a roundabout, to join a slip road or a motorway, then you do get that little bit of a purr. It's not a noisy car by any stretch of the means, but it certainly feels a bit more rugged than you'd expect from a modern day hybrid. And it's one thing I always find great about BYD models is the factor of customization, because you can change your steering assist mode to either have comfort or sport. Same with the brake assist mode, comfort or sport in that area. So you can really customize how you want to utilize this vehicle. But even with the different sound and display settings, customize what information you want a digital dash. Same with the infotainment screen. And not to mention customizing your regenerative braking settings, where you want it a bit sharper, so you're going to get more out of that mile range, or you want standard, so it might feel a bit comfy out on the roads, but you'll probably go through petrol a little bit quicker. I do like as well, you've got a breakdown of stats, so if you are rather money savvy and you want to save pounds wherever possible, then you can kind of do a little rundown of how that drive went, seeing how much fuel and how much electric power you used. So then you might think, well, I've actually used a lot of fuel. I've been absolutely put my foot to the floor and ragging this about. Tell you what, I'll put the regenerative braking higher. I'll turn off sport driving mode. So if you're a bit of a stat nerd, I think you'll love that. You will get multiple driving modes as well as them steering and braking settings, as well as regenerative braking. These are normal, eco, snow and sport, which I think are pretty self-explanatory, but I think I might give the sport driving mode a go. It certainly does feel a bit more responsive. I mean, its initial set off, because it's going to use that electric motor, is snappy. You almost get to 25-30 miles an hour in no time. As soon as it hits 45, it just starts to slowly creep down and almost slow up, because that's when the combustion engine kicks in. Now, it's quite a sizable car, it's quite heavy, because you've got an engine and a battery, so I'm not expecting it to be lightning quick. But I think I just would like a bit more push and a bit more power when it climbs up them automatic gears. But ultimately, it still feels like a smooth transition. It doesn't feel jumpy, don't feel like you're bunny hopping at any moment in time. So it could be a bit more forceful, it could have a bit more oomph behind it. But it does feel well built. Yeah, it doesn't have mightily good performance, but it don't feel like there's any steering wheel shake about it. It doesn't feel like suspension's too stiff that if you accidentally hit a pothole, then it will shake your tailbone. So I'm currently cruising at 70 miles an hour now, and it's pretty quiet. There's a little bit of road noise, but not detrimental. There's no real rattle. I don't feel like I'm fighting with the steering wheel or constantly having to adjust my position. So yeah, you won't feel like Lando Norris, but you won't feel like you're driving a tin can either. There is only really two things about the Seal 6 that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of and think there could be areas to improve. One being the driver monitor attention alert. That's this little box on the corner, seen in a lot of modern day cars, which essentially works that the car will almost track your eye line, and if you divert your eyes from the road a little bit too long, if you're getting a little bit distracted by putting on your favourite song on Spotify and Infotainment, then it will start sounding. But one thing I've noticed, that even if I just glance across for a couple of seconds, it will start beeping, and then when you start looking at the road, it doesn't automatically then switch off. It does take a few seconds in that sense. But that is just a modern day car quirk that it almost shouts at you, and there's so many ping pongs every single second of every drive. The other being, although it has a rather streamlined look on the interior, I would like a few more controls. All right, you got volume, you got your EV or hybrid toggle, and your different drive modes, which I think is better to have in the center console rather than infotainment. But I think I would like a little slider for your fan speed or to toggle it on and off. There is a shortcut at the bottom of the infotainment, but ultimately you do then have to go into the screen. It takes a second to load and then change it by these scrolls at the side. So much easier with an old school dial. And I think it would really fit this car. It feels like an old school car but with modern day tech. So I think they might have missed a trick in that regard. But saying that, I don't think there's anything so detrimental about the Seal 6 that it would really put you off. You get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto from standard. You've got Spotify built in. You can have split screen to utilise your built-in sat-nav and Spotify at the same time. You've got all driver safety convenience features pretty much from that base spec. And not to mention its economical factor. I mean, imagine filling it up with petrol right to the top, charging it so it's on 100%. I know you could travel 935 miles. For most people, you could go 2 months without visiting a petrol station. And the one thing I certainly like about the Seal 6 is I kind of wish more car manufacturers followed in the footsteps of this almost groundbreaking saloon / estate, if you will. Because with a car market that's absolutely flooded and almost overcrowded with EVs, for some people, EVs just simply don't work. If they do a lot of driving and they can't charge at home because they live in a terraced house, then owning an EV is rather difficult and will actually be more expensive than owning a petrol, which I feel like completely is a waste of time. Whereas this has less emissions than the combustion engine, has a lot more mile range, actually has more mile range than pretty much all electric cars out there, and still has an essence of electrification. And I just feel like this should have been the gradual step. EVs are great, and I'm rather a pioneer for them, but I just wish there was more cars coming out like this. It feels like it is just standard hybrid or electric. There isn't so many innovative hybrids out there, but this is one. I do think it's great, albeit it's not the most exciting car to look at. It's not the most exciting car to drive, but it's comfy, certainly value for money. and still has that little bit of sense of I'm a show-off, although still fuming, there's no spinny screen. Its turning circle, I will say, is pretty impressive and certainly shows off the practicality of this car. It's pretty long in its dimensions. It's a saloon or an estate, you're going to expect that. But I've just managed to reverse into a rather tight parking space. There's not much room in front. I've done it in one swing, so that either means I'm a brilliant driver or this car's brilliant. Maybe it's a bit of both.